I am Arion. This is Book Zealots. How was your October reading? VICTOBER. I did fairly well. VICTOBER. I got 2 books read, and I tried to sneak in another book, and I didn't finish. I had 2 buddy reads. I don't know how well we fared. The first one that I read was Tess of the Dervilles by Thomas Hardy. This is the 3rd book that I've read by Thomas Hardy. I like his writing. I know I've read this book as a teenager. I know I have. But I didn't remember the end. If you know, you know. How could I have forgotten that? But, you know, I've read a lot of books since then. But Thomas Hardy does toxic so well. I don't want to say anything more than that. Tess of the Dervilles. Man, Thomas Hardy did a great job. I will be keeping this book. If you're interested in a sole review of it, let me know. I think I gave it a 4 stars. It was very good. And then the second one, and I was worried about this one. Nigel, did you finish? Let me know. Okay. And this one. And I will link everybody that I mentioned. I will link their channels down below. So Tess of the Dervilles, Angie, of Angie and the Great World, I think. She used to be Literary Labors. Angie, did you finish? Because I know you weren't liking it in the beginning. And there was a little hill, because I felt it was like kind of slogging along, and then all of a sudden took off. So I was buddy reading this with Nigel and reading ideas, and this is Can You Forgive Her by Anthony Trollope, and I think this is also the 3rd book by Anthony Trollope that I've read. And I know I've read this one in high school as well. I thoroughly enjoyed it this time. I don't know if I liked it when I read it in high school. I think there were bits and pieces of it that I liked. I remember not liking Mrs. Green, is it Greenow? I don't think I cared for her storyline. I enjoyed it more now this time around since I'm older. Can appreciate being in a different aspect or a different stage of life. And I would say, based on all of the characters, they are definitely their own characters. I think the least known character is probably Kate. And who are we supposed to forgive? I assume it's Alice Vavasor. She may have regretted what she did, but did she ever thoroughly apologize? I don't think she did. And every time I thought a woman was maturing, they do something stupid. Okay, I loved this book. I'm keeping this book. And, Catherine with Taking Tea with Catherine had her sister on, so I'm going to link that video. And I was mentioning that I was gonna continue with the Palliser series, and the sister Bonnie said she would actually recommend the other one because this one gives spoilers. And then I started thinking, can I bebop back and forth? Because I'm weird like that. Let me know if you've read both of the series, or the Chronicles of the, is it Barchester? Or I don't remember. I don't remember what the other series was. If you, and I think I spelled it wrong. I said, I don't even remember, honestly. Okay. A lot has happened in the past couple of days. It's been crazy. If you have read both of the series, the Palliser series and the Barchester series, and if I'm saying it wrong, I'll correct it, or I might not even care. Let me know if I can bebop back and forth, because I really like the characters in this. But if I cannot, then I need to go book shopping. And I can't really go book shopping because I got bad news today. Anyway. Then I read, of course, The Great Bridge, because this is our read-along for the David McCullough read-along. I was a little worried that I wasn't going to get it finished because there were some chapters in here that were really tedious. The amount of information, some of them were hard, and it doesn't help that I'm anal and have to look up a lot of things, because yes, that's what I do. But if it weren't for that, I would give this a 5-star. But because some of the information overload, I'm giving it a 4-star. But this was good. This book, and I want to mention at the very end, it has the appendix and the Brooklyn Bridge vital statistics. I mean, if you care about stuff like that, and I'm not an architect, I considered it at one point in my life. The amount of information, I'm sorry, oh, thought I had a hair and it's attached to my head. The amount of information for the wiring and the whether or not it had a certain strength to it, if it was covered with the zinc, the corruption that was involved. If you all have a recommendation for a biography of Mr. Tweed, I think it's Mr. William something Tweed, I would really be interested in reading about that man. I think he was he the beginning of the mafia? I'm not sure. I might be wrong. But this book is amazing. The information, the architecture, the men that worked on this bridge are amazing. Now, Washington Roebling almost lost his life from the bends. Like, we know what that is now, but back then they didn't know what to do, why it happened, how to treat it. My dad has a friend who was a professional scuba diver who scuba dived with Jacques Cousteau. So I remember hearing about that when I was very young. How old was I? I want to say I was about 6 or 7. Anyway, so back then, I mean, we're talking the 1860s, so 1867 on, they didn't know. I mean, how scary. And so there were people that lost their lives, not just to that, but accidents that happened while working on the bridge. I think it's funny too, because somebody had made a joke, and I think it was in a newspaper, that said it's going to cost $7 million to build and 7 million years. Well, it cost more than that, about $15 million, and I forget how many years. But if you like architecture, you like this. I don't have my pictures up, but this was good. I do hope that you will continue reading with us. If this book wasn't for you, try the next one. Try the next one, and that will be in January. Now, I snuck in a couple of books for HISTORATHON, because we are in the last quarter. Oh, let me just sneak this in real quick, because I tried squeezing this in at the last minute because I was going to try another book and I DNF'd that one. I'll get to that one last. This is Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. Is it Louis or Louis? I think it's supposed to be Louis, but I'm going to say Louis. I don't know. I always Louis is L-U-I-S. So I think it's Louis. I've never read this, and I'm really enjoying it. Now this edition is so stinking cute, and thankfully there are footnotes at the bottom because there are some words in here that I am not familiar with. So this one is a coble, a small boat used in fishing. Let me just find another one. I'm on I made it to chapter 16, but I didn't finish it for VICTOBER. I'll carry it over to the next one. And I think it's interesting because the red fox in here is a Campbell. I can't remember his first name. Colin Campbell, I think. And I have Campbells in my family tree, in my genealogy. Of course it's fiction. Of course it is. Okay, so for HISTORATHON, I read A Southern Woman Story by Phoebe, Yates, Pember. This book is great. I don't know if I'm going to keep this book, but there is a section in this book where she is trying to help a young man with his injury, and I bawled my eyeballs out. I didn't crawl into a fetal position, but I bawled. So basically it's her journal, it's her diary. She wrote, it isn't, but it's written in such an easy format, an easy way to read. She talks about, she was basically hired to be the cook, and she has to keep the whiskey under lock and key because people keep trying to steal it, and it wasn't the patients that were, yeah, some of the patients were guilty of it, but the nurse, there was this one nurse, she was not a lady, no she was not, and the doctors were alcoholics, and they were stealing the whiskey from the patients who actually needed it. This was so good. If you can get your hands on this, I recommend it, especially if you're interested in reading about private accounts during the Civil War. Yes, so good. And then I had to sneak in, had to sneak in another book for the Civil War. And this one's new. I recently bought this one. This is It Wasn't About Slavery, Exposing the Great Lie of the Civil War by Samuel W. Mitcham, Jr. Now, caveat here. If you were like me and were taught to believe a certain story, one-sided, because one side good, one side bad, it's a lot muddier than that. However, I would not start with this book. I would actually start with Team of Rivals. I will put a little card. Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns something or other. I'll put a card. I recommend starting with that one. And yes, it's a beast. However, she does a really good job in giving the details of all of the people that were in his administration. And they were wicked. They were evil. I went down a conspiracy theory, and I'll have to share it another time, but I told Prometheus, I went, oh, what if they did this because they wanted to do that? What if? Anyway, I don't know. It was just some weird thought that had popped into my mind, and I shared it with Prometheus, and he thought that would be really weird. I'm like, but not impossible. Then I would recommend picking this one up. This really puts into light the shenanigans of the person in power and the chaos he caused, which never should have happened. Never should have happened. So this was great. I'll probably keep this one because of all of the details. And I don't know how many books I've added. Now there were a couple of parts. I think there were two 2 parts where he added his personal information, private opinion that I didn't care about. Now, I also have a lot of yellow and orange in here, not because of the author's writing, but because of the men doing bad things, the men making bad decisions. But I'm trying to find one where he gave his own opinion. I was not thrilled with it. And I'm like, you didn't need to go there. That wasn't necessary. And I don't, if I can find it while I'm editing, I'll put, like, the abolitionists, I would say, in this day and age, were like Antifa today. And then I read 2 Christian books. I was going to try and read 3. I couldn't find the 3rd one. I have since found the 3rd one, so it'll probably go into November. I did not put it for November, so maybe December. My pile for, oh, you can't see it. Okay, so my pile for November is just off screen, and it's big already. Okay, so The Theft of America's Soul, Blowing the Lid Off the Lies That Are Destroying Our Country by Phil Robertson. If you believe the news media, not only are you being lied to, you are then being gaslit as well, because they try to backpedal on their lie. Oh my gosh, they just recently did one that was so egregious. Anyway, so this was a good book, and basically if you've read one, you've kind of read all of them in respect to his testimony, his friends, and then that part of the story. So I've got another one here. Those parts of his books are identical, not identical, but similar, and then each one has its own separate topic and events regarding that. I don't know how old this man is, but I mean, he lived through the 60s, so he could compare what happened in the 60s and the lies that were told then to the lies that are being told now, and we are in a worse situation. And yes, the alphabet soup is involved. If you know, you know. Uncancelled by Phil Robertson, Finding Meaning and Peace in a Culture of Accusation, Shame, and Condemnation. And I do find it very ironic and disgusting that the tolerant people, that the people that claim to be tolerant are intolerant, unless, of course, you agree with everything they say, because as soon as you don't and start questioning, they eat their own. So if you're used to being attacked, then it's no big deal, you know. But if you claim to be tolerant and then start questioning and then get attacked, then you're not aware and then are surprised. Imagine. So I would recommend both of these, actually, because both of them are again, the testimony is the same, but the details of the experiences are different. And I have to pause. Go ahead. Thank you. Okay, so the book that I DNF'd, I was going to try and finish this and slide this in at the last minute. This is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. Now, I read her other book. What was it called? The one, Kindred? I think it was Kindred. I don't particularly care for the fantasy science fiction element. That's just not my genre. I got to page 2 on this book before I DNF'd it. I felt like shredding it. And here's why. I have heard some booktubers mention this and rave about it. Okay, now I know, again, who I cannot trust to give certain reviews that I'm looking for, which is disappointing. So if you are a Christian, This is not a book for us. Page 2. It's witchcraft. And I have not heard a single person mention that it is witchcraft. No, no one. What? Page 2, people! I'm stunned. I'm stunned. I'm disappointed. I'm disgusted. Page 2. So what happens on page 2? It actually starts on page 1. I'm just going to say, let me get to. I dreamed a reminder that it's all a lie. I think I need to write about the dream because this particular lie bothers me so much. I'm learning to fly, to levitate myself. No one is teaching me. Trust me, somebody's teaching her. I'm just learning on my own, little by little, dream lesson by dream lesson. Not a very subtle image, but a persistent one. I've had many lessons and I'm better at flying than I used to be. I trust my ability more now, but I'm still afraid. I can't quite control my directions yet. If you're a witch, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I read that. For people that are not aware, that is called astral projection. Don't do it. It's witchcraft. It's demonic. Yeah. So this book will probably be burned. I don't care what you think. I am a Christian. It is my book. I will do what I want with it. Page 2. Okay? Page 2. Prometheus. He's throwing shoes. I'm stunned. I have heard nothing but rave reviews about that book. I'm so disappointed. I am so disgusted that nobody has mentioned that. Okay, so overall, other than that piece of garbage, the month was amazing. Let me get my pile. Okay, so VICTOBER was amazing. The month of October was amazing. HISTORATHON was amazing. I'm trying to get the books in order. It's a little unwieldy here. The pile's not even that big. I didn't calculate how many pages I've read, but I did read, and then I can't really count this because I didn't finish it. But I'm going to add it to my November read. So, this is what I got read. It has been a great month, but that other book kind of left a nasty taste in my mouth. So this is what I got read for the month of October. It was fantastic, and there are some keepers in here. I think 4, 5, maybe. I don't know yet. Anyways, I hope you had a fabulous October. Please leave a comment down below and let me know. Did you like Parable of the Sower? Did you realize that there was witchcraft in it? If you've read any of the classics, let me know what you thought of them. And talk to you in the comments section. Bye.